Now, this guy was a star performer. He was an absolute star performer, but he had little visibility. And it was like, wow, what does visibility mean? In all essence, what does visibility mean? Visibility means this, guys, and I'll tell you in this this live stream today. But visibility means this. It means, to your senior level, upper level folks who things really matter to. Are you visible to them? Are you? Do they know who you are? I think this is a very important topic today. And the reason why I say that is a lot of people are trying to get the bag now. And there's ways that many people are, starting to share how they are able to do it in the entrepreneurship world. But I'm going to kind of give you guys the tips that you can do it in the world that you're currently in, whether that is in, working for McDonald's, right? Whether that is in working in tech, whether that is in working for yourself, whatever it is, right? There's something that you guys will be able to take from this conversation today that I think that, you can use starting today to improve your situation. So we all know that when you're in a working environment, that in a perfect world, it would be just about your performance. It would be, about the work that you do and how reliable you are. But in all actuality, that's not how things end up happening, right? We want it to be based on merit. We want it to be based on how many, keystrokes that we can, type in a minute. We want it to be based on, how we've been able to close the biggest deal in the company's history. We want it to be on all of that stuff. But the reality of it is that's not what it is. And I've learned that early on within my career, starting back to my first role in a corporate America. I was having a conversation with one of my managers at the time and had an opportunity to sit down with some directors and some VPs. And I think I was around 22 years old. But they were, talking about things that, I probably shouldn't have heard. But the word visibility kept coming up. Visibility. And I always wanted to know what that meant. And I found out what that meant. And visibility and how they were using it, because they were talking about another a coworker who just had resigned, and he was basically asking for a promotion, and they never promoted him because he had lack of visibility. Now, this guy was a star performer. He was an absolute star performer, but he had little visibility. And it was like, wow, what does visibility mean? In all essence, what does visibility mean? Visibility means this, guys, and I'll tell you in this this live stream today. But visibility means this. It means, to your senior level, upper level folks who things really matter to. Are you visible to them? Are you visible to them? Are you? Do they know who you are? That's what it means. Do they know how much you can contribute? Do they know what you're working on? That's what visibility means, guys. And, I had to learn that. And once I learned that piece of it, because I was given the game quite early, I was able to get promoted, over 10 times within my career. So let's do this. Let's do a sanity check. You guys are in the chat. If you're coming across this, if you're live, go ahead and I can't even speak right now. Go ahead and hit the like button. If this content is new to you and you're seeing it for the first time and you like this sort of content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well. I want to make sure that I'm getting the support and you're helping with that and helping to grow this channel. But we're going to talk about how to get promoted and how to get promoted fast. And I've given you guys my credentials, so I know what I'm talking about. I love to do that first, right? To set the tone on what's important here and why I have the ability to talk about this sort of topic. But one thing I want you guys to all remember about this is that perception drives reality, and perception is everything. And, perception is something that we can control. And this is part of the visibility piece of it as well. So I want you guys to keep that in the back of your mind as well, too. It is something that we can control. And there are behaviors around perception that we are in control of. And what's up, brother Be Told? How are you? Thank you for joining the chat too, guys. So thank you so much for joining the chat. I got my chat over here, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm talking to you guys in the camera as well, too. So every time I get a chat, I may look over here. There may be a bit of a pause and a bit of a distraction, but let me get back to it, though. Perception is everything. And here's the thing, right? Just like I am talking to you guys today in front of this camera, you guys are, have some perception of me. And whatever that perception is, I'm trying to control that as much as possible. And the way how you control perception is by doing a couple things about your behaviors that will allow people to perceive you in certain lights. And we'll get into the intricacies of this after I talk over the high level pieces of it. But the controllable parts of the perception in helping you to get promoted is how you dress. A lot of people don't understand that piece of it. I'm in here right now on a Saturday with a nice button-up shirt and my glasses on, and I'm just pretty what I would consider to be dressed intelligent, right? And what the way how I'm dressing today is pretty moderate, but it is intelligent, and it shows that I have what I would consider to be self-control, right? I'm dressing like I am in a figure of authority to be able to talk about such a subject, right? We're talking about how to get promoted fast. And just imagine if I was dressed in a t-shirt with a ball cap on backwards, right? Like I was a high school student, nobody would really take me serious, right? So a controllable behavior for all of us when it comes down to perception is how you dress. And you have to dress how you want to be perceived. So that's one tip that I have for you guys. The other piece of it that I would say is this. There's a lot of do's and don'ts about the dressing, but I want you guys to go and do your own research on that. You have to dress for the position that you want, right? And I know a lot of us today, especially being in tech and so forth, we have the ability to work from home and work remote. But there are times when you have to be on camera. And the past of how you used to dress, having to go to the office and so forth, if you want to get promoted, you still have to dress for the position that you want to be in, guys. That's very important. I'm not going to get into the do's and don'ts of how not to dress, but you don't want to be a VP walking around here dressing like Chris Brown, right? Or a plumber, right? You don't want to be that person that's dressing like that. So again, part of the perception about yourself is controllable, and a controllable piece of that is how people perceive you based on how you dress. Another controllable behavior is how you communicate, guys, right? It's important for you to be able to communicate with others. And, a lot of us are getting very comfortable with the way how we communicate online and the way we communicate to our family members and to our boys and stuff like that. And you just have to really watch that if you're trying to get promoted in corporate America. You have to know how and know what things to say. I have a nephew who was just at the house maybe a week ago, and we were playing Madden. I haven't played Madden in forever, right? And one of the things that he kept saying, because he's a high schooler, right? He's like, man, I beat you, bro. And so bro is such a easy word to pick up. And as a professional, right, I can say that to my nephew. Oh man, like you suck, bro. Right? Like I can say that to my nephew, but it's not very, common to say that to a VP who has, powers, who is responsible for, potentially you moving on in your career. Right? So just be careful with how you communicate to other people. And when you communicate, try to be precise and concise as possible. Don't let your tongue, words that you say back at home, like bro and stuff like that, cuz and all that other stuff, really get into your professional talk. And yeah, If you have a culture where it's like that, that's fine, right? I heard somebody the other day, and my company that I work for used the word OG. I'm like, God, man, this pop culture is starting to leak its way into corporate America. And I get it, man. I get it. And it's harder and harder every single day for us to use the right terminology when it comes down to communication. But, you don't want to be talking to a CEO of a company using words like, what's up, bro? What's up, cuz? What's up, a partner? You don't want to do any of that sort of stuff. So, you try to mimic the behaviors of what you see as a professional, and you communicate that way. So that's another controllable behavior, guys. So that's 2 that I've given you already, how to communicate. And the other one is how to dress, man, and dress like you want to be perceived, and dress and communicate like you want to be perceived as well, too. Let's move on. And let me just jump over here to the chat. Blind guy, I'm glad you're doing a deep dive into perception. I've always thought of visibility and perception from my own definition. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Is we always think of it from our own definition, but we have to remember that a lot of it is based on how others perceive you, right? And again, you're in full control of that. Think about this, right? Think about some of the most powerful people in the world, right? They could be smucks behind the doors, but they try to create a perception about themselves to make them still be powerful, right? You think about like the Warren Buffetts, or you think about the Satya Nadellas who leads Microsoft, or you think about a gentleman of the past or Tom Coughlin, right? The head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, if you want to get into the sports world, stuff like that, right? It's a certain way that you want to be perceived, and you are in control of that. And a lot of that has to do with your own behavior. So the way how you dress, the way how you communicate, and so forth. Let's also go over here to Renator. Renator says, I have going outside. I hate going outside. I'm going to struggle to interact with people. Well, Renator, if you want to get far in your career, you're going to have to interact with people. That's just what it is. It doesn't matter who you're working for. You're going to have to interact with people. And that's something that you're going to have to get used to, man. If you want to make a large amount of money in your life, which I'm assuming you do because you are a information systems major, right? And part of being in the information systems world is understanding business and understanding technology and trying to use technology to solve people's problems, man. And if you're not able to, talk to people, then you're not going to have a very successful career. So, my pledge to you is to work on it, right? Our personalities determines how we, interact with other people. But just remind yourself that if you want to get far in life, you have to work on the things that you're not good at. And, if you're not good at working with people, become better at working with people. So another piece of it, right? Another behavior and another thing that we have control when it comes down to perception is how we interact with others. I think this is a big one here, right? And a lot of us just don't know that our interaction with others really dictates how they perceive us as well. I was at a winery on Thursday, and was it Thursday or was it Friday? It was Thursday. Yes. My wife dragged me out of the house. We had the cleaners come to the house, and we had to get out of the house, of course. And she said, we're going to a winery. Anyway, I'm sitting outside because I have a 2-hour phone call, and inside the winery, my wife and kids are, and they're making all kinds of noises, and there's music playing and stuff like that. So I'm on my conference call, and one of the things that I'm doing is I'm sitting in front of like where people enter, and I'm smoking a cigar. By the way, I like cigars. One thing that you guys, if you guys ever get an opportunity to meet me in person, I smoke cigars and I drink wine. Yes, that's what I do on my weekends. That's what I do with my wife. That's what I do to enjoy myself. But, I was sitting in front of the winery, and of course you have patrons coming to the winery, right? And there's an interaction. If I am not the business owner of this winery, I'm sitting in front of it because there's a place to sit, but people, want to interact with or the first time people see you, they're going to get some sort of interaction. So, what I typically do and what I was doing was smiling, right? Even though I was on the conference call with my earbuds in, you smile, you be friendly, right? You be comfortable in your own shoes. And that makes other people comfortable in their own shoes as well, too. So that's the same thing of interacting with your peers, be friendly. Don't get too comfortable, but be comfortable, be yourself, be curious, be professional, right? And I would say be authentic as well too, guys. Those are major pieces of how you are going to be perceived. So we talked about three things already. We talked about, the dressing and how you can actually control the perception about you by what you wear, by what you sound like in your communication. And then this one that I just, ran over is how you interact with other people. A simple smile goes a long way, guys. A simple smile can do wonders. A simple smile is something that opens people's minds about who you are and makes people curious about you themselves, right? And how you interact with your peers if you're working on a team is very, very important. And I want to give a shout out to brother Keep It Techie. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for coming through in the super chat, man. Thank you so much. Salute, brother Antoine. Keep pushing the positive content to help the people. This is my brother right here, man. I did a show at Keep It Techie about a month ago when I was in Wisconsin. Oh my God, doing wonderful things on the Keep It Techie channel. Guys, go and subscribe to them if you aren't subscribed. If you are in IT and you want to learn about database management, you want to learn about Unix and Linux and scripts and things like that, go check out brother Keep It Techie, a great dude that is doing wonderful things. I think Keep It Techie is in Las Vegas, so he's in a hot city as well too, and he's doing some wonderful things. I appreciate you, Keep It Techie. Thank you so much for the super chat as well. Let's go back to the chat on here as well too. Gibran, I'm hoping I say your name the right way, but said I've struggled with dress and tech. I show up in a suit, lapel pin, pocket square, etc. Sometimes it was seen as dressing for the position I wanted, and sometimes it was seen as intimidating. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? That is very, very interesting that you said that, man. So let's unpack that, right? If you show up in a suit, tie, a pin, and so forth, yes, you can show up for an interview like that, but you gotta be able to read the company culture as well, right? So let's just say this, right? We're software engineers. You and me get hired to the same company, right? Of course, we're gonna dress super, super dope for the interview, and we're gonna be on our best behavior. We're going to be super sharp and positive and things like that. But then you get an opportunity to walk around and see the culture of the office. And, one of the things about dress, which is, interesting, is that you don't want to overdo it, right? And I think a lot of the times if you see software engineers, rocking T-shirts and sandals, yeah, you don't have to rock T-shirts and sandals, but, a lot of the times you kind of want to fit into somewhat of the crowd, and being a software engineer, wearing a tie and a very, very nice, a very nice blazer every single day, that makes people question, hey, is he the boss? Who is he? Can I get to know you? And I know that sucks. Yeah, that absolutely sucks. But you have to be able to read the environment that you're in as well too, Gibran. It's no different than, there's an all white party and you're showing up in, all black, right? It's kind of not following the rules. And although I know it's accepted, you just got to be able to, kind of follow the rules and navigate that, tightly. Yeah, you don't want to wear sandals and flip flops and stuff like that, but you can, still dress pretty casual, looking very nice without having the dressing what I would consider to be a bit overboard. So just, know the environment and things like that. And tech, you're right. It's you can miss sometimes on a lot of that, but there shouldn't be a consistent miss unless, obviously you're trying to do that yourself. But what I would also say is this, guys, on top of interacting with your peers, you want to interact with your seniors as well too. That's a big piece of it. You have to know how to interact with your seniors as well. And then and this is probably going to be the last one before I dive a little bit deeper into the visibility piece of it, guys. And it's going to be very important. And I'm going to give you those 3 tips that I wanted to give you that you can take away from this video today, this live stream today, on things that you can start to implement today. That's going to help you get promoted. So, the interacting with the seniors is very, very important, guys. You want to be curious about who your senior leaders are. You want to be curious about what they like. You want to be curious about, you want them to be curious about you. You want to be authentic around them. You want to be professional around those guys as well too. And me doing that, following all of these behaviors, I've been able to create a perception about me that has allowed me to be promoted to over 10 times within my lifetime in a short of matter of time of 15 years. I'm at 37 right now, and I in my professional job outside of what I do for Black Heights and YouTube and my coaching business and real estate, I command a salary that's over $400,000 a year, guys. Right? So these are the tips that I've and the behaviors that I've used within my career, and this is what I coach. And this has, allowed me to get to a salary of over $400,000 a year in the corporate world. I never knew that this was even possible, guys. At one point in time, I was just like many of you who were in college. If you're in college, or if you're making $40,000 a year, you're making $60,000 a year. I never knew. I heard people like, oh man, this guy makes $500,000 a year, $600,000 a year. I didn't think it was possible at one point in time until you start to ascend up the corporate ladder, and you start to say, okay, well, I'm making $48,000 a year here. Okay, I'm making 60, I'm making 80, I'm making 100. Okay, what is it that I can do to make, $500,000 a year? And you start to see that you have to get close to the revenue, guys. And I know I'm on a small tangent right now, but you have to get close to the revenue, and you have to map out a career path that allows you to get close to the revenue in the company. And the people that are close to revenue in any sort of company, whether you're working for yourself or you're working in a corporation, they are the people that commands a higher pay. And they are the people that are given higher pay, but they also have, a lot of responsibility as well too. So, that's my point on that. So, I say this, right? Behaviors that you can control that, remember this: perception drives reality. You can control the perception by how you dress, how you communicate, right? How you interact with others, how you make them feel, and how you interact with seniors. So let's jump into this now, guys. So let's jump into some of the tips that I wanted you guys to put in your little toolbox. Put in your little toolbox, guys, because job performance itself, being the best person to cook fries, being the best person to cook burgers, being the best person that codes, you're going to kill yourself if you're thinking that that's going to be what gets you promoted. That's not it. That is not it. Yes, it definitely does influence it, and you want to be a good performer because, performance speaks for itself. But part of getting promoted has little to do with your performance. And let me just say that. I'll retract that. It has something to do with your performance, but the majority of it has everything to do with visibility. How visible are you to your senior leaders, and the organization that you work for? How visible are you to your senior leaders and the organization that you work for? Yes, in a perfect world, your performance of flipping burgers and being the best person at fries and being the best coder and being the best project manager, it will help. Yes, and it should help. And without all the politics, that should be the only thing that we should care about. But the reality of it is that's not it, guys. So here are some tips that I want to give you guys that you can take away today, that you can start using on Monday or tomorrow. That's going to help you in your professional career to get promoted. And I want you guys to, I really want you guys to, write this down. Write this down. Many of you have already heard of it already, I'm sure, and you can leave me a chat and stuff like that on some of this, and you can give me some of your feedback on it as well too, on what you think of what you've used to get promoted. Brother Gabe, I appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much for the super chat, man. Long time no see. I got to get you onto the show. I got to get you and Keep It Teching on the show. I got to do more live streams, and I need to bring in people in the tech space and people who are doing some fantastic things to show that we have many people that are doing some wonderful things across the world, and to be that example of men that others can follow. I say this: I wouldn't have been a real estate millionaire if I didn't have my uncle in my life, right? And he wasn't a person that taught me the game. It was just the fact that I knew that he was a real estate millionaire, and all of a sudden, this year I became a real estate millionaire after starting my investments in real estate in 2018. So we need people like myself, like Keep It Techies, like there's many others, like Brother Gabe's, that others can look at and say, man, these are normal dudes, but this is how they've done it. And we're, the good thing about us is that we're willing to share that, and we have platforms to be able to do that now. So that's what I'm looking forward to get with you, Brother Gabe, and Keep It Techy, to bring you guys on the show. And I have a lot of collaborations that I want to do with some other wonderful people in the game out here as well too. BMT, Brother BMT, how are you, sir? Brother BMT. BMT is from South Carolina, I believe. Believe it or not, guys, I'm originally from Orangeburg, South Carolina. I spent the majority of my life in Wisconsin growing up, but I am from Orangeburg, South Carolina, and I have my youth years in that area. And I think BMT is from some part of Charleston, if I remember that right. Hey, how you doing, Brother BMT? Thank you for joining the chat, my man. And Venator, yeah, you have to be good or you get fired. Yes, you're right. Absolutely. Your performance sucks. You're not going to make any progress in your career at all. That's absolutely true. But let me get back to my points, guys. The tips that I want to leave you guys with is this. Number one is you want to be able to clearly communicate about the successes that you are having. And what do I mean by that? Because, I did a show with Brother O'Shea today, by the way, that's going to drop on his channel pretty soon. I was talking about my first promotion as a software engineer to a senior software engineer. And I went from $48,000 a year to about, I think it was like 54. I got a good significant bump in a matter of like a year or something like that. I think it was less than that. And one of the things that I did and I understood, right away after hearing this visibility talk is to clearly communicate my successes. So, after I went to my manager at the time, my first manager, his name is Scott Zickard. I went to him and asked him what a senior software engineer does. What does he think a good software engineer does? And, we kind of aligned on the objectives that I needed to accomplish in order for me to get a promotion. And I focused just on that. And I was documenting everything that I needed to document in order for me to prove that I was getting and having success. So, part of this is clearly communicating about the successes that you had. So, after I knew my objectives and I knew what I needed to accomplish, I needed to communicate that back to my senior leaders, which is Scott Zickard at this point in time. Let's just say I'm pushing myself back into the software engineer role. So every single time we had a meeting, a one-on-one, which was every other week, right? I made sure that he knew where I was at on this project. Hey, you know what? I got these labels out and I got them on out without there being an incident once it went into production. So I was delivering code that was, going into a customer's environment that compiled. Not only did it compile, it didn't cause an outage, right? So that goes towards my making sure that my uptime and my code is actually polished by 95%, right? So it's important for you to communicate your successes, because if you don't communicate your successes, nobody else is going to communicate your successes at all, right? So you have to be a person that really talks about the things that you do and the successes that you are having. Let other people know. Some people call it bragging, right? I don't call it bragging at all. It's just letting people know of the accomplishments that you are having, letting people know of the things that you did last week, letting people know about the things that you did last month. And believe it or not, they're going to start to talk about them, especially as a manager. That's driving the perception. That's communicating. That is clearly communicating your successes. If you're going to do good things, and I say this all the time, right? If you're going to do good things, tell people about the good things you do. A lot of times, I hear it. I hear it all the time. And I've been a person that's been like this too, man. It's like you want people just to acknowledge the things that you do. But the reality of it is they do acknowledge it. But if you're not controlling that perception, they're going to acknowledge it and not do much about it. So if you want people to know that you are the best salesman, you got to talk about you being the best salesman. If you want to know people to know that you have hit your sales targets 3 years in a row, you got to talk about how you've hit your sales targets 3 years in a row. If you want people to know that you are the best project manager and all your projects come in on time and under budget, you have to clearly communicate that, you are the best project manager and all your projects come in on time and on budget. So that's the first tip, guys. And, doing this is going to give you ammunition and going to tell people who you are. And it's also going to have people, tell your story for you. So one is clearly communicate your successes, guys.